All right, we got the 261 spoilers, and we're finding out what happened with Gojo, because coming off of the end of the previous chapter, we saw that he seemingly showed up to help Yuji against Sukuna, question mark? Well, turns out it is Gojo, but it's actually Yuta inside of him taking over his body. And you're like, wait, what? That's crazy. I know. We'll get into it because there's a huge explanation in this chapter as to why that is happening. So it begins with Yuji deciding that he will crush Sukuna's heart. Yeah, we saw Yuji end his combo with grabbing Sukuna by the chest, trying to yank his heart out at the end of the previous chapter, but that's when Gojo showed up. And as soon as Sukuna chants domain expansion, he sees Gojo standing, and in disbelief, Sukuna wonders if it's really him, but pushes away that thought as he says it's impossible. But Sukuna suddenly realizes who it is and punches away Yuji as he moves forward and says, "I apologize for underestimating you. I didn't know you were capable of going that far, Yuta Kotsu." So yeah, like we said, Kotsu has taken over Gojo's body. And when we see Gojo, he has like the Kenjaku stitching on his forehead. So this obviously means that Akotsu took Kenjaku's curse technique, seemingly when he killed him, by cutting off his head. And also really impressive that Sukuna can immediately figure that out. Like, I'm pretty sure not even Gojo could fully understand what was going on with Geto when he saw that Kenjaku took over his body. Unless Sukuna kind of just put two and two together and figured it out. I don't know. But anyway, flashback, Yuta decides to have Rika devour Kenjaku and copy his curse technique, which will allow Yuta to change bodies. Maki objects to this plan, but Hikari says that he has a condition. They're going to use this plan when everyone is wiped out and they don't have any options. So first of all, we're seeing like that month prior flashback when everybody was getting together and game planning. So apparently they already knew that Gojo was going to die, and they're like, oh hey, if he dies, we'll just have Akotsu jump in his body. And also, I guess this is confirming that if Rika eats a part of you, then you gain the curse technique that way, because I guess this means that Rika ate Kenjaku's freaking head or ate a part of him, or I don't know. But yeah, Akotsu now has Kenjaku's curse technique, which we still don't fully know what it is. It's just like you take over somebody's body somehow, like your brain goes into their body, but it's like, is that just the beginning and the end of it? There's nothing else? But first, let's talk about the sponsor of this video, HelloFresh. Make delicious food a priority this spring with quick, convenient recipes delivered right to your door. Just choose your meals and select a delivery date. HelloFresh handles all the meal planning, shopping, and most of the prep, so all you have to do is open your box and get cooking. Ring in springtime with fresh, seasonal produce picked at peak ripeness and delivered straight from farm to your door. And when you sign up today, you'll unlock free appetizers for life. So get the party started or enjoy a little pre-dinner treat with an appetizer of your choice in every HelloFresh box for free. So I got in on the appetizers myself because I started with the salt pretzel bites with white cheddar sauce. It was incredibly easy to make and it was so tasty and satisfying. Then I made the one pan cheesy chicken tortilla melts with chicken thighs, green pepper, and spicy cream sauce. As always, I really enjoy making these HelloFresh dinners, and this one was just so convenient and delicious too. Then I even treated myself to some dessert with the New York cheesecake, and this was almost too good. I had to kind of control myself from eating both of them at the same time. HelloFresh also helps me with the grind of YouTube. I don't have to worry about what I'm going to eat next, or what I'm going to prepare, or if I'm going to order something, because it's all here for me. And it's also stress relief. So guys, go to HelloFresh.com and use code ZHONINAPPS for free appetizers for life. That's one appetizer item per box while your subscription is active. That's code ZHONINAPPS at HelloFresh.com for free appetizers for life. Thanks, guys. Kusakabe says, can't we just copy Limitless from Gojo's body? And Shoko says, you can't use Limitless without the 6 eyes. And Kusakabe says, then just copy the 6 eyes. And Shoko says, the 6 eyes are a part of his physical body. It's not a curse technique, so he can't copy it. Yeah, makes sense. All stuff that we pretty much knew at this point. Maki asks, since Yuta can use copy curse technique for only 5 minutes, what would happen later? And Yuta says he doesn't know. Meme explains the pros and cons of Yuta copying Kenjaku's curse technique. There's a possibility that after switching bodies, Yuta might lose his curse technique and would ever have to live in Gojo's body. So first of all, if Kenjaku's curse technique is of the constant or intermittent operation type, the physical body or the soul can't be maintained and he'll die. 2, if the curse technique operates intermittently, he won't immediately die, but he'll eventually die. And then 3, if the curse technique is a single-use, one-time technique, then he can use Limitless even past 5 minutes. And then Mei says after the switching of bodies is completed, it's also possible that a Kotsu curse technique is discarded and he'll live in Gojo's body from now on. So yeah, pretty interesting possibilities here, because you gotta think like, yeah, how would that work? A Kotsu using his curse technique to copy Kenjaku's, but he can only copy it for 5 minutes, but then he switches over to somebody else's body. So does it just stop working and then he dies, and then Gojo dies as well? Let me also put it out there, Gojo's dead. He's not coming back seemingly at this point, but yeah, I mean, that kind of goes without saying already. But I do like how it leaves a couple options out here for what's going on with the Kotsu and the possibility of him using Gojo. I mean, obviously it was successful. He has taken over Gojo, but it's like, can he only use him for 5 minutes? Or is he just going to stay as Gojo forever? I'll talk a little bit more about that at the end. Yuta says that he knows this is a last resort, so first he will try to fight Sukuna with his own domain, and if he can't win, he'll accept Gojo's body. So we know how that turned out. He freaking lost. Kusakabe says it's a good plan, but it's just not humane. And Yuta says, what do you mean humane? We're about to fight the history's strongest jujitsu sorcerer. If we can win just by throwing away our humanity, we shouldn't even be arguing about this. And Yuta asks if everyone's afraid of becoming some monster to fight Sukuna. And Maki rebukes Yuta, saying that everyone's just concerned about him. Yuta says, what about Gojo sensei? Is he not important? Haven't we been pushing all the burden of becoming a monster onto Gojo sensei alone? If Gojo is gone, then who else will be the monster? If no one intends to become one, then I will. Scene switches and Yuta tells Gojo that he will take his body if he dies. Gojo says he's fine with that. He says he has no intention of losing and doesn't care what happens to his dead body. So yeah, Gojo was there in this instance, and he's like, yeah, bro, you know, if Sukuna kills me, you can take over my body. Go for it. So much meticulous planning beforehand, and it's like all of these like worst case scenario plans that they did. You think they would have just made a better plan to just kill Sukuna by everyone ganging up on him? Because Gojo was doing pretty darn well by himself. Imagine if like a Kotsu and everybody else was teaming up with him, and then they just had, I don't know, Takaba take on Kenjaku or whatever, like they originally planned, and or just, you know, multiple teams. It just seems like this could have been planned better, you know what I mean? But anyway, Yuta and Gojo talk about if Yuta is a descendant of Fujiwara or Sugawara. So yeah, they talk a little bit more about their distant relative, which Gojo revealed in the Volume 0 movie and manga. And Gojo's basically confirming here that they are relatives or distant relatives of Michizane Sugawara, and that apparently Sugawara and Fujiwara are on bad terms. We've both heard these names being thrown around during the Heian era, but I'll go more into this in my full review for this chapter, along with everything else as I usually do. Probably be out tomorrow morning, you know, a little bit before the afternoon, maybe, something like that. Subscribe for that if you haven't already, guys. It'll really help me out. Thank you. I appreciate it. Gojo says that Yuta might have been born under better circumstances than him, so Gojo says that if Yuta can utilize the advantage, he's totally lame. And he says, let's start off with your sloppy cursed energy. I've always told you to be careful about that. Gojo then asks his students to go away because he doesn't want them to see a bloody side, especially since he doesn't know what he's about to do is right. Gojo says, if I lose to Sukuna and all the geezers in the room are gone, Gakuganji Gramps will stand on top of Jujutsu headquarters, and if that happens, there won't be any more chaos like post-Shibuya incident. Wow. I think this is confirming what we thought. I'll have to see more of this chapter. I don't want to jump the gun, but I think Gojo's straight up murderer here. Gojo once again tells the students to go back, but they refuse him. Yuta tells Gojo to not try becoming a monster all by himself again, and Gojo says that's something I can't do, and at that moment I was left behind. I have to catch up to him. The scene switches to Amai, Yuji's friend, explaining his curse technique. He can amplify the sugar within himself and the output in it in some kind of way. Shoko puts Amai in the medical team with Nita as support by having him supply their brain some sugar using his curse technique. Whoa, okay, we're finding out what Amai's curse technique is. Apparently he can amplify the sugar within himself and having it an output in some way. And also Nita's here. Nita was that guy from the end of the Shibuya arc who was there trying to keep Nobara alive and was pretty much like, yeah, maybe I can help her. I don't know. She's probably going to die. Don't get your hopes up. He was that guy. And we were actually talking about him in the last chapter review video on the channel, that he might be in this recovery team or this hypothetical one that we haven't seen yet, with Shoko, where Yui's basically teleporting everyone. We're actually seeing it in this chapter for the first time, like what they're doing. Because the scene switches again and Yuta is cut in half due to Sukuna's slash and he has been rushed to the medical ward. Arata has used his curse technique to avoid Yuta's wounds from getting worse, but it might be too late. Yuta says that he's conscious thanks to Rika, but he's starting to reach his limit. Shoko tells Yuta that he has already stitched up Gojo's corpse. So once Yuta switches, he has to activate reverse curse technique at max capacity and complete the body. So wow, yeah. This is after Yuta was cut up by Sukuna. And Yui transported him back to where Shoko is. They already stitched up Gojo's body to prepare for this plan that they had and already established a month beforehand. And we come back to the present, and Sukuna and Yuta is in Gojo's body. Both open their domain. And the narrator says that Gojo had already shown the solution to Sukuna's open barrier domain. Chapter ends with Sukuna using Malevolent Shrine, and Yuta's using Gojo's Unlimited Void. Yeah, so we're at it again. Malevolent Shrine versus Infinite Void or Unlimited Void. And I suppose that Okochu is going to pick up where Gojo left off, as it says here. Learning from his mistakes with the closed domain, or how it just combated with Sukuna's, where it essentially sat on top of a flat plane, vulnerable to attacks from the outside. We'll go more into this in the full review, and also, like I said, I wanted to talk a little bit about if Okochu is going to survive here, and it seems like he just can't stay as Gojo, because that would just be too good, right? So there might be a time limit here, or he just might not be strong enough to maintain Gojo's body for this long, or something like that. Because he's going to steal Yuji's thunder, right? Isn't that what this all boils down to? And he can't do that. Yuji's the MC, so Yuji has to be the one that defeats Sukuna. Unless, I don't know, Okochu does defeat Sukuna, and then the merger happens, and then that's what Yuji ultimately has to defeat. It seems like Yuji kind of has to take down Sukuna, right? So it can't be Okochu in Gojo's body who does it, but I don't know, maybe he does. Let me know what you think about this in the comments, guys. And if you liked it, please give it a like, and please subscribe again if you haven't already. Thanks, I'll see you in the next one.